right? I'm going to be going over the A+ mech long that I took today. I have executions in my Discord right here. You can see on Tradeovate. And if you are interested in joining the Discord, just link in the description of this video, link in the bio, whatever it's called. Without further ado, let me just get straight into it. Delete all this. Full screen so you guys can see. Was this 9:30? No. All right, perfect. That's great. Okay, so what do we have? Coming into the day, what did I see? Well, for starters, if you traded Friday, you know that we had a monthly fair value gap mitigation. You can see that right here. We also swept out that weekly intermediate low. You can see on NQ we sweep it out, print this huge rejection wick, and on ES we end up putting in this fat SMT. So I am counting this as higher time frame distribution on ES. Now, where do I build my bias further for the day? I go down to the hourly and I see overnight really didn't do a ton. I see ES is respecting this bullish gap and we've kind of swept out this intermediate high, but I pretty much base my bias mostly on NQ today, just purely because of the 30-minute and the daily time frame. Right on the 30-minute, what can we see? Well, we see price clearly in bullish order flow. Why is that? Because price is respecting these bullish gaps throughout this bullish distribution. Like you can see, we respect one right there, we respect a second one right here, and we are just clearly disrespecting all these bearish gaps. You can see this bearish gap held price multiple times, and we end up just trading right through it. So that's a pretty bullish signature in price. What do we also have? Well, we're trading towards this daily gap, and after sweeping out this monthly fair value gap, I would pretty much just be expecting a retracement towards this daily gap, kind of acting as an agreed upon DOL, right? So overall coming today, bullish. Now, how did I think price was going to get there? Well, go to the 30-minute time frame. NQ had this 30-minute intermediate low, and ES really didn't have any key levels at that point in the leg, so ES only really had this hourly intermediate low. I would just kind of wait till open, see what happens if ES makes it all the way down here, and if not, I would just want price to kind of just rip up towards that daily gap and hopefully create some sort of continuation gap, 15-minute or 5-minute for me to trade towards the daily gap, of course, with somewhat discretion on the 5-minute. All right, so let's just get into open. What do we have? 9:30 open. What do we do today? Well, 9:30 does pretty much nothing. All we do, we just generate liquidity, and we don't even manipulate anything. So we just start moving right back up towards the daily gap. And at this point, I was like, okay, I would take a 5-minute comp towards the daily gap right now. Now, there was this play right here that was a 2-minute short. I personally did not take it because I did not like the daily gap in my stop loss, but if you did take it and people are saying you're a pattern trader, they're just not, like, that's just not true. This is somewhat of a decent play if you had discretion, because 9:30 did not manipulate. Technically, that gap could be used with your own discretion as kind of a gap to short off of, and you can use this 5-minute gap right here as an agreed upon DOL to make it to this, so pretty much guaranteed break even if you took that trade. Good trade. I just didn't like it because the daily gap was at my stop, and I just saw too much reason for price to just come up, manipulate my stop loss. So what happens next? Well, at this point, I started to kind of want to short, right? Especially when we displace around 150 points away from the daily gap. That kind of fades it as my draw on liquidity, and I'm kind of thinking more short-term bearish possibly, because I want to see price take out the 9:30 wick, all this low resistance, and mitigate this unmitigated hourly fair value gap, right? What do? Well, we don't get the 5-minute close, unfortunately. I really would have liked this trade if we got the 5-minute close, just we didn't get anything. Now, we start to move back down, and what I'm starting to realize here is, okay, like, we're at OTE, the range, we're kind of just flooding through all of these levels right here, this 30-minute intermediate low, and we are leaving higher time frame gaps above, and we keep on moving lower. Now, what was I looking for here? I wanted to see some accumulation, manipulation, and distribution, right? Because what have we just done? Well, price manipulated up. Well, I mean, first of all, price accumulated right here. What did it do next? Well, it manipulated up into the hourly gap. Then it distributed back down. Price moves in AMD. So technically, we should see price reaccumulate right here, then manipulate, then redistribute towards whatever my draw on liquidity at the time will be, right? So I just want to simply see price reaccumulate in any direction. What do we see? We see price reaccumulate and start to generate low resistance liquidity towards what? Well, this is where the important idea of the mech comes in, right? We start to generate low resistance liquidity towards this very obvious 5-minute gap on NQ, and more importantly, we start to generate low resistance liquidity towards this 15-minute gap on ES, right? So a high time frame key level on ES and a pretty convincing gap on NQ with more low resistance and ES leading towards it, right? Now, the importance of this is we have stack PL3 and this AMD, right? So ES is approaching on my hourly intermediate low that I have marked out right here. What do we see? Well, we see the 10-15 open up and do what? Well, 10-15 opens up and does nothing, right? All it does is it just generates liquidity at the highs. This inversion fails, we move back down. What do we have lower on NQ? Well, we are at OTE of the range. We have this 30-minute gap right here. So right now we do not have true manipulation, meaning this inversion is invalid because ES has not yet hit this hourly intermediate low, and that is the only key level in its distribution leg to manipulate and then continue back up off of, right? What do we have next? Well, price starts to come down. ES ends up sweeping out that intermediate low, meaning we put in a big SMT right here, right? You can see this is the correlated low, We put in that big SMT. This is a valid SMT, and from here I'm thinking about longs, right? And why is that? Because we have our accumulation, we have our manipulation, and now I'm just looking for my distribution back towards the upside. ES has swept out discounted liquidity. We're at OTE of the range, delivering off a higher time frame key level while still having draws higher intact. This 30-minute gap is pretty much defending all of this low resistance right here, pretty much just swaying conviction between this extremely high resistant low and this extremely low resistant high up here. What do we have next? Well, all I'm looking for is I'm just looking for a strong body close inversion, and there's two things that actually happen on this candle. We put in an internal SMT with this AM low right here, and we also get an extremely strong close on this up body inversion, right? This is exactly what you want to see when you take an inversion. You do not want to see candles like this one up here where we get kind of this big wick and then a tiny body. You want to see these candles where we just flood straight through, print almost no wick, and close a fat body at the top, wicking the bottom. We're wicking outside the range, closing bodies back inside the range. That's always a healthy sign to see in your inversions. What am I targeting here? Well, I could have targeted the 5-minute gap, but honestly, I just want to target this low-hanging fruit because I do not really need this 3R. And even if it were to hit, I'm just way more confident in my play hitting if I take this 1-to-1 or 1-to-3R, right, at the 10-15 open, since it had not been mitigated yet. So I end up entering in the trade right here, and you can see take profit gets smashed pretty fast. This is an amazing trade in my opinion, definitely A+ mech model. If you took this is a good trade up here. This is a bad trade right here because no true manipulation, and then we have this A+ mech right here. So yeah, that's it.